So hello and welcome to Spill Beans YouTube channel. Today I'll be showing you how to create a domain model, how to do a assignment where you focus on the UP model in order to analyze and to see requirements or a paper from the customer and you want to develop, to which you want to develop a system to an app or the web application. It's no programming, it's just doing simple UML and just figuring out how we can analyze, how we can use this system and before we develop it, or what materials and how to look at the different assets or the different things in this project. So let's get going here. I have something here. This is just an overview of how far I've come in the use case model. And then we're going to go into the use case diagram. Let's just dig into the first of all the domain model. So because we need the domain model in order to be specific or to get an idea of what we are modeling here. So and that's what you really use to understand this business or the subject of where you're going to implement this and what is going to be our classes further on in the development project. So here we have how I view the domain model of this topics agency, which is somebody who needs a booking system to book keynote speakers. So they have a booking here. The booking, this is a conceptual. Also, you can call this a conceptual class, and within this, and it's further on, it could be one of the classes in the software or in the application. So this booking, I have analyzed that this is obviously a booking system to book. So we need somehow a booking that's combined with the calendar. So this booking I put in here, and it has a relationship, and this our multiplicity. First of all, when we have the domain model, we only focus just on not very specific, but just the overall view of the system, like I've made it here. So we just look at how is this booking multiplied with the calendar. So we have in the calendar, we can have 0 to many bookings, but we can only have one calendar. So in that way, this is an example of how to understand the multiplicity, and other things we have here in this domain model is just the keynote speaker here, and the keynote speaker is related to the booking because the booking contains one keynote speaker, but a keynote speaker can have this multiplicity, more bookings. So one booking to one. This is the way to understand this relation here between keynote speakers and bookings, the way I've interpreted from the assignment here. And also I have identified accounting. We need an accounting to make a commission here, which stays in the text. We need some commission here. So I directly, I would, you could consider, or I think somebody could consider that commission could be understood as a class. Of course, it can be that, but and I've also made it here. The honorarium, or how you pronounce it, is related to the commission because this is where the keynote speaker knows, or the system knows what to pay the keynote speaker. But this cannot, in my opinion, this cannot stand alone because we also have some way to, or you could help identify a more pure fabricated class, which is one of the GRASS principles from the GRASS pattern, is that you should have something, because some way you could just use, if we go to the Java to be more specific about the programming or how to implement this program. I would say that it can be difficult to have a single commission class, because the commission is something somehow calculated, and if you have to you will just have a commission class calculating the commission, but if you think about it, perhaps I think this, if you put it in the real world, you don't just have commission, but you have somebody calculating, and therefore I would say an accounting would have the responsibility of creating a way of calculating the honorarium, and it could also in this case come in handy to calculate a bill that could be sent to the customer, because we also have a customer in that ordered the keynote speaker, and before that they called the topics company in order to book it and see if they were available. So this is this is overall the way I thought of this project, and in some way you should always consider a project in also a way that is not just because here and this is maybe it's a bit confusing how I explain it, but I would just want to state the point that you have to somehow think about how would the real world implementation be, because sometimes I see that this will not be the case for a domain model, because this one is easy to make, but sometimes you would if you don't see it, sometimes it's easy to think that if you don't see it in the as a new software developer, if you don't see it in the or somehow to come up with this pure fabrication of another class. I'm not saying I'm doing it correct, but I think this way is the way to handle this specific domain, is to have this which is not stated in the text, but have this accounting, and this is mainly why I show you this one, because otherwise it's quite simple to make a domain model. You just have to put in the you can use some actors, you can use some of the nouns you get from the text, and you can also before you go direct to the main domain model, because that's how I went. Or you can in Visual Paradigm here you can actually go into a text analysis. So you just go in here if you're not familiar, or if you're familiar, I'll just show you here. So let's just see here. I will just be sure to save the project. Oh, let's just get it right here. So I would hope to create a new diagram here, this one. So textual analysis is a very good key, or a very good tool in order to make this easier for you to understand this, or to save the to document how you work and make others, or just for your own sake, just highlight some of the key points you find in the text, because many times this analysis topics assignment. So this is a way to just simply copy this one into the textual analysis, and here you can just highlight, and you can also identify some classes via Visual Paradigm. I'm not going to go into deep with this, but this is just something that is really handy for you as a software developer, and as a to just look at IT architect, just to look at this way, or have this tool in your toolbox. Let's continue on. I've been talking enough about the domain model. You saw the domain model. This you can also let's see here, the domain model here. The domain model is quite simple. It's straightforward. You just have to. I think it's really just a tool to be sure you understood how, or analyze the domain in which you are applying your software program into. So after this, you go. We were in this case we were told to also before the domain model, and that's it maybe becomes a bit messy here, but I'm just gonna go through it just like how I just go with the flow. So I'm going to also show you how I use this tool in order to understand this task, and this was asked by one of my teachers. So in software development. So let's just go into these tasks instead of me just explaining what I've already been doing, but just look at this. So one of the first tasks in this assignment was to identify at least 5 use cases using case descriptions where 2 of them are fully addressed. So when you get this sort of task, you simply go into to the UML diagram, or not UML diagrams, but you go into you go to the UML diagrams. You go here, you make this use case diagram. You find and that's maybe a bit more peculiar way of asking this task is to identify the actors after you identify the use cases. You could do that. You could just simply look through the text analysis. You could look at the text, see, okay, we need something. We need a system to do this. We need a system to arrange presentation for employees. We need some way to have a calendar management system where you can register these keynote speakers in categories, and you also need to have the keynote speaker should have access to this system. So there are a lot of things you should look at. You should look and reread, and just simply see or aim to understand everything in the text you are given, because this way is going to help you a lot. When you understand everything, you can better talk about it, and you can make a better system. And if you just skip through, you're going to have some holes in it, and if you uncover these holes in understanding, later on in the process, you are going to have to make a lot of changes, and then you consume a lot of time in changing instead of developing. So save yourself some time, read the text, understand it completely. This one is quite simple. It's short. You can have. I've seen a lot of longer, very long, longer pages of requirements, but let's just stay with these examples for the sake for today. So here we have the what is the system. We from this text you get an understanding of what the customer somehow what they require. So you have some requirements here. You should think of, well, we need to pay these actors. We need keynote speakers. We have different actors we can identify, and that's, I think, maybe sometimes you also you actually you have to. I think it's also important, and this way, and I'm a bit I would not say not satisfied, but this way you ask the topic. This is also for school, so this is for training. So, but you should actually, I think sometimes you should talk about the actors before you identify use case, because it's easier, or it can also be done the other way around. But sometimes I think it's more easy to know who are we talking about when they do this, and do the separate steps in the system, or go these different use cases. So what I've done is I actually think I tried to write down some of but also you can, it's an agile, it's always you should work that you are not just because you identify some actors, you should not be able to rewrite them or to change them. You should also be able, and like with the use cases, you should also be able to adjust the use cases. And really be like have attention, put attention into defining these use cases more or less, so they cover the most of the project in the beginning, because it's going to be a lot easier for you to work towards a better product, a more refined project. So here in this example, I've created this the registrator. I identify a registrator. We need somebody who can create or could somehow create the, and this is, you also have to have some understanding of object orientation, object oriented programming. Not that it is a must, but it can really come in handy. Especially, I know that we're going to create this in Java later on, and now we're not going to do it. I'm not going to do it, and this task only asks for the system development side of this. So I like to think of this as how would I think of a actor. It has to have a class, and then we have to have the way to we also have a keynote speaker. So this keynote speaker, somehow it has also to be a class. So you can create an instance of it. So this registrator, perhaps in the Java, it creates an instance of the keynote speaker. And this registrator also resigns the keynote speaker, so it makes sure that we don't have unnecessary keynote speakers available in the system, but they always can be removed from the system. And that's also important, so that you always, with booking systems, you have to, well, in my experience, it's easy to think of that you have to create it, but you also somehow have to remove it. You have to, if you create an object, well, sometimes it can be handy to remove or somehow get rid of the project, so you don't the object, because you don't want it to be messy around there, but you have to have something that really that takes care of all of the aspect of the system. So the registrator can register keynote speaker. It can change the keynote speaker details. It can so this is pretty good. So in my opinion, of course, I should not. If you have some thoughts about it, let me know. So here I also think here we get some kind of you have a cross point here, because between the keynote speaker you have them going to have perhaps this function. Otherwise, I thought of the registrator maybe being only taking care of this, because the registrator should perhaps have the administrator role. So should because it's a person that's within the topics company, and the keynote speaker is more or less just on freelance basis, or I would assume this will work. They're just doing few jobs they're called into. But I think also it can be handy for the keynote speaker to give their opinion. I think if the keynote speaker could have the possibility to change the details, I think it would be okay, because absolutely this also should be an organization that the firm should, or the company should be able to tell me how this. But in my opinion, we should maybe let the keynote speaker have an access to brand themselves, to tell them, this is what I stand for, this is how I'm going to do the speak. So I put it here between, so both they have both the same use case here. I also have so we move on. We have registrator, we have a keynote speaker also. I talked about that. We have the booker. The booker is creating the booking. So they should, because we also have to move responsibilities out to different persons, different ways of looking at the system. So the booker is creating the booking, it's adjusting the booking, it's canceling the booking. So we create the booking, we could adjust it. They can call in and say, okay, we need this instead. They adjust the booking, and afterwards they should also be able to cancel the booking, get rid of the booking. So we cover all the aspects of creating the object, adjusting the object, and canceling the object. And then we also have here, I think that should be a pattern through these different actors that's working with the system, administrating, more or less administrator role. So this is we have the booker. They should be able to view the booking calendar, and that should also be a case for the keynote speaker. And the keynote speaker here should be able to view their commission and their appointments. So in some, they should be like specified. This is what you get. This is where you're going to speak. And here they can see if they, get an idea of how much is booked. What could be a possible way for me to tell to get more bookings, and I could offer push through that. I need some more booking. The accountant should be able to calculate the keynote speaker commission, because they should be the one in charge of this separate part of the business, is to be sure somebody should. And that's why I think it's not that obvious. I don't know. To me, it's not. But I thought about this. We need an accountant. They should calculate the commission. They should make the customer bill, and in that way be sure that this works. Here we have the tax officer. The tax officer is of course just this is our offstage actor. So they're not interacting with the system, but you have to understand them. You have to understand that these are some offstage actors, because they can some way interact, or they can you know, like affect the system. So you want to take these into account, that this is a variable that you need to document. Also, I think perhaps the secondary actor. So the secondary or the supporting actor, we could perhaps put an IT administration or something, administrator, and administrator, and let's just call it admin. It's much easier. So the IT admin, or just an admin maybe, perhaps they should be able to perhaps, you know, like yeah, maybe that's too bad idea. So we don't need that supporting actor. That's just me thinking. I don't know. Let's get rid of it. I think this is not this was not more or less not correct. Okay, so we created the use cases. We identified the use cases. Let's go into this one again. This one, number one. This is going to let's add to create this one of two to put words into how we should understand these use cases. So let me, in the other episode, let me just tell you how to do that.